One of the great things about horror movies is that it constantly challenges us. The studios and is constantly a reflection of society at that given point in time. The giant monster movies of the 50s and 60s were based upon our fear during the Cold War. The excesses of the 80s led to some truly outrageous shockers. Each decade has something to offer, something special. Many of these films changed the way we view the horror movies, in many situations the course of the film itself. So join us as we list top 10 revolutionary horror movies of all time. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The first true surreal expressionist silent horror film that defined the normal world around the favor of a twisted, both literal and metaphorical landscape. The influences of the film can be felt in nearly every horror movie since its release, as well as in the music world. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the true beginning of the Universal movie monster series. This film locked in actor Lon Chaney as a true horror icon, perhaps the first of its kind. It also spawned numerous remakes, something we still see happening today.
You mustn't run too fast or she'll get away.
Yes, I know, that's...
King Kong. This film not just challenged the methods by which a movie was filmed, it took those challenges and ran circle around them. If you want to have your mind blown when it comes to filmmaking techniques, find a good making of for this film back and be amazed. Many claims that Citizen Kane is one of the most influential movies when it comes to the actual art of filmmaking, and obviously it is. But for the fantasy genre, King Kong is the rightful bearer. Psycho. This film is considered to be the first slasher film, so films like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween and Friday the 13th owe a great deal here. Hitchcock brilliantly wove together a film that ultimately challenged Americans' acceptance of sexuality and violence in cinema. In 1992, it was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. Night of the Living Dead, an independent film that has had more of an impact upon our culture than perhaps any other. Night of the Living Dead gave birth of the zombies we know and love today. If you are a fan of The Walking Dead or Shaun of the Dead or anything with zombies in it, go and kiss George Romero's hand. The Exorcist. When it comes to horror, we know that this genre doesn't get much love from critics and mainstream award ceremonies. It's frustrating and more than a little insulting. But once in a great while, a horror film comes along and reminds everyone that this genre has validity, it has weight, and it has its fair share of message. This is one of those films. The Exorcist went to garner 10 Academy Award nominations, including 2 wins, and still bear the title as one of the scariest movies of all time. Scream. This gave rise to the self-aware horror film, one that could cheekily laugh at itself while still providing us with genuine thrills and a villain that has become an iconic image. The Blair Witch Project. While Cannibal Holocaust is considered one of the first found-footage horror films, it was the Blair Witch Project that shot it into the mainstream, creating a cultural phenomenon that was unheard at the time, heavily using the internet at its means to confirm the truth of the film. There were many that believed that the events that took place in the film were 100% real. Almost as shocking as its wild box office success was how well received it by the critics, earning almost universal acclaim. Saw. Today's horror powerhouse James Wan created a global sensation with this film, spawning the one-a-year franchise concept that was being used by the Paranormal Activity series up until the marked ones. What made this movie stand out was its major budget that was almost entirely unnoticeable. Each scene executed atmosphere and the grimminess that hadn't really been felt since David Fincher's Seven. Add to it that the film's twisted ending was something that no one saw, and the makings of a classical were guaranteed. Get Out. Partly inspired by Spike Jonze's unorthodox flick being John Malkovich, Get Out is a brilliantly effective and entertaining horror comedy thrill ride. Horror has long been a canal for exploring gender stereotypes and social fears, but no matter how progressive the film, there is usually one rule that always holds truth. If you are a black in a horror movie, you know you're going to die quickly. Just by making a black man the protagonist, this film is already revolutionary. This is the 6th horror film which got nomination in the Best Picture category in the Oscars, with 3 other categories where it won in the Best Original Screenplay category.